Hi, this is Brian Smith with Smith Scholler Milliken Attorneys in Nashville, Tennessee. Today's topic is a continuation of our series on lease purchase transactions, and this tip of the week focuses on what are the seller's risks inherent to a lease purchase transaction. There are many, and I'll just tell you right up front, to diminish these risks, the best thing the seller can do can get as much non-refundable in any event earnest money up front as they can get. If the buyer is not willing to put up a substantial deposit, then I would personally, if it was me, be reluctant to pursue the transaction if I was a seller. But here's some of the risks. If the buyer doesn't make their payments, the seller's forced to evict them, which in Tennessee could take up to 90 days to do while the underlying mortgage payments are due and no revenues coming in. The seller faces all of the risk of being a landlord. When they do take repossession of the property in order to sell it or re-rent the property, release the property, there could be damage to the property that they have to fix at their expense, and that's problematic. Also, one risk that the seller really needs to understand that for a variety of reasons, a large percentage of the lease purchase transactions never close. The sale purchase of it never close. The buyer doesn't repair their credit. They can't get a loan by the time the contract calls for the closing date. The buyer, even though they're credit worthy, has lived in the property, and all of a sudden they see all the warts on the property, and down the street there's a newer, nicer house for less money that's popped up, and they've decided to buy something else. So for a lot of very human reasons, these transactions don't close. The buyer and the seller need to know that fact as well. And last but not least, if in the interim of the lease purchase transaction the buyer takes bankruptcy, the seller is going to have to hire a bankruptcy attorney, go to court, try to evict the buyer, see if the bankruptcy trustee wants to complete the lease purchase transaction. This is a problematic scenario that is going to be expensive and time consuming, and during this time there won't be any rent payments coming in. So the seller needs to decide whether they can accept those risks. Lease purchase transactions are a sign of the times, and we highly encourage you to get your parties to an attorney to make sure both the buyer and the seller understand the risks associated with lease purchases. Have a nice day. We'll see you next week.